What role does the President of the United States, and you say you could do great things as governor to help that, what does one do to try to advance the agenda that was undone to big time in those 3 states?
Well, I think the President will find, as at least this governor finds, that you try to set what you think the agenda ought to be, and there are always people who are telling you that they think the agenda ought to be something else. And if the agenda is, in fact, federal in nature, then the president will have to deal with it. One of the problems, I think, and I do think in some respects it has its roots in the Clinton administration, is that we federalized a question that is more state or local in nature. I think you know my views about this. I just don't think this is that big a deal. I mean, meaning I do think people ought to come before their government as equals. Their government. What churches do, what people approve of privately, that's another, churches or other houses of worship, that's another issue. But the ability to get a civil marriage license seems to me ought to be based on equality.
But when you say that were you saying that it's essentially a state issue, and if that's where you're going, the problem then becomes a la people who believe in repealing Roe v. Wade. Well, some states will decide to allow abortion, some states will allow to have gay marriage, and some states won't.
Well, don't you think Barack Obama's going to work with the economy before he gets into?
No, but I'm asking a guy who cares deeply, who cares deeply about this issue. I mean, leaving it to the states means probably half the states or more will say no.
Well, first of all, you are really overreaching or overinterpreting my comment when I talk about a matter uniquely and traditionally left to the states, meaning marriage licenses, and equating that with Roe versus Wade. They are not the same thing.
No, but explain.
One has to do with the constitutional notion of a range or a zone of privacy. And the other has to do with issuing a marriage license. I'm not saying that the question of a marriage license is unimportant. I'm just saying that I think that the president's initial focus is and ought to be on getting the economy back on its feet and restoring our leadership in the world. And I think that they're going to be. I think the question of what. The question of marriage equality is going to continue to percolate around the country, but I have a faith that the people are going to not just get to a better place on that question, but get to a better place in terms of understanding where at times like these our focus ought to be, and trying to regulate. Private choices among consenting adults is. We got to move on.